Hello, hello. Hi everyone, it's Marlon here from Sales Engine, and just letting you know that we're about to start in a few minutes. Just waiting for a few more people to jump on, so I'll be back in a couple of minutes and we'll start the webinar. Okay, so it's 11 o'clock and we'll make a start. Welcome to the Financial Planning Clients on Demand webinar. Now, just to make sure that everyone is around and can hear me, if you can just type into the chat box there, you should have the chat box, and if you can just type in good to go, or I can hear you, or I can see your screen, sounds good. Any type of response would be great, because then I'll know that you are listening. And you can hear me. So if you can just type that in now, that'd be really helpful. Okay, so Robert says the video is not working. So it should be, you should be able to see just an image with a person, a man on the right, and clients on demand written on the left. Robert, just let me know if you can see that. Let me just check one more thing here. Share. Okay, so I've just turned the screen on again. Robert, let me know if you have any issues seeing the screen, and I'm going to make a start. All right, well, again, welcome to the webinar. Today we're going to spend a bit of time talking about how, as a financial planner, you can create, I guess, a marketing engine that brings clients into your business on a regular basis. And for the next hour or so, if you can kind of turn your mobile off, block out any distractions, give yourself the opportunity to be able to just absorb the information, because I really believe the information in this webinar can really change the direction of your business in 2017 if you want to grow your business, if you want to get a lot more clients than you're getting today next year. So who is this webinar for? Well, let me just, Robert is still saying it's not working. Oh yes, good. It's all working, Robert. Awesome. Okay, so if anyone else is having problems with hearing the webinar, just write it in the chat box and I'll get onto it straight away. So who is this webinar for? It's really for financial planners, accountants, anyone who works in the financial industry who is looking to grow their business, who's looking to get more clients on a regular basis, and not being that feast and famine kind of cycle where you get lots of clients 1 week and then nothing for a few weeks or a month and then lots, and you're up and down. You want to have a bit of consistency there. And today is really about a repeatable process that delivers prospects on a weekly basis and converts those prospects into initial meetings. So the key is that what you're looking for, the end goal here, is an initial meeting with a client in your office. Because I know that if you're a good financial planner or accountant, then if you get someone in the office, you can pretty much win them over. You can build credibility, you know what their pain points are. The challenge is getting them into your office, getting a client from wherever, the internet or from networking or some event you've been at, cold calling, getting to that stage. And this webinar is about all of that. Getting them into your office is where you kind of take over. And what we're going to talk about today, everything before that. Okay, so the agenda for the next 45 minutes. What I'm going to show you is how to generate clients on demand. So the exact clients that you want, whenever you want them, at the price you want. So the challenge I think a lot of businesses have, it's not just financial planners, is when you need clients, it's really tough to get. The cycle to get them in takes many months. You can't generate them on demand. Also, a lot of times it's very expensive and very time consuming. Number two, we're going to talk about how to leverage your time. So you can talk to many prospects at once instead of just one-on-one. And in this digital age, there are new tools and technologies where in the top part of the funnel, where you have your warm, hot, and cold prospects all mixed up together and you don't know who's who, you should be talking to them on like a one-to-many basis and then bringing them down into where they're hot. And those are the ones you want to speak to one-on-one, the hot clients. You don't want to be like cold calling people who are totally cold or don't even know who you are. Total waste of your time. And we also are going to cover how to stop manual prospecting. Cold calling, if you're a financial planner or people in many industries, you've probably dabbled with that. Attending networking events, doing lots of live events, which are awesome, but very time consuming, very expensive time-wise, and you can't do that many of them every year because they take so much energy. Social media updates, blogging, there's so much you can do, but really they're all manual things you have to do. And when you stop doing them, the leads stop coming in. And that's kind of where you don't want to be. You want to be in more of an automated where it's happening while you're working. And fourthly, we're going to cover how to stop that busy work. The busy work that takes up all your time and delivers little results when it comes to prospecting and getting new clients. And we're going to talk about how to just stop that. So does this sound like you? I'm going to describe a few characteristics and tell me if it's you. And type into the chat box whenever you have some feedback, and I'll read it out. So, are you in roller coaster sales where it's up and down? We talked about that feast and famine cycle. Do you have like next client anxiety? When you're sitting there at your desk and you're like, where is this next client going to come from? I really am not certain. We talked about prospecting stops when you stop working. Are you there? If you stop, then no prospects come in. Does that sound like you? Are you someone that likes financial planning, but not so much sales? You become a financial planner because you love the practice, the art, the skill, the results, but then you realize that you also become a salesperson. you have to do it, but it's not the love of your life. And also, do you want to grow your business in 2017? Do you want to grow? Do any of these things sound like you? Have you hit an invisible growth ceiling where you want to bust through that ceiling, but you can't? There's something stopping you, like you're just really struggling to get to the next level. And, it's pretty much sales. You don't have enough sales. You don't have enough prospects and leads. You can't really grow your business, no matter how optimized your business is. So let me tell you what the real problem is. The real problem is you're probably too busy to prospect. I think most business owners and most people in business are so busy doing the things in the business that prospecting is a nice to have. Like it's a must have, but they treat it like a nice to have. And so that's the first thing that drops away when you start getting business. Do you find prospecting hard? And it is hard. Prospecting is a really hard thing, and it's a challenge everyone has, not just financial planners. Are you not sure what tactics to use or which ones actually work? In today's age, if you're a small business owner, you've probably had lots of people come to you telling you that you should be doing blogging, social media, SEO, Facebook ads, Google ads. The list goes on and on. Like, but which one really works? You know, as a business owner, you're probably not an expert in any of these, and you're not sure which one to do. So a lot of times you kind of don't do anything. But let me tell you, the fact is you've been set up to fail, and let me show you why. You've been set up to fail because you've probably been sold the idea at the time about all manual prospecting. You know, we talked about cold calling, we talked about networking events, all these things where you have to put effort in to get something out. You're probably selling one-to-one when you should be doing one-to-many in different parts of the sales cycle. And you probably have unreliable marketing. Your marketing process is just not reliable, like it's not predictable. I love this. I've coined this term, the predictable sales system. And what it's all about is being able to predict how many leads you'll get every week and how many clients you'll get every week out of that. Predictability is what you want in business, because when you can predict, you can either turn it up to get more or turn it down, and you can kind of, you can kind of optimize and say, okay, well then I want my business to grow by, X amount in the next 6 months, and so therefore you can put X amount of effort in, and because it's reliable what you'll get out of it. But you're probably not there in your business. This is the old way of growing a business and prospecting. These are all the things you can do. And businesses try and do a bit of everything, and they really don't get good at anything. So, there's blogging, there's SEO, cold calling, social media, email marketing, webinars, videos, paid advertising, like the list goes on. And this is probably 25% of the stuff you can do. I've just written, the big ones here. So that's the old way, trying to do lots of things and just it's like a shotgun, just shoot your gun, spray it everywhere and see what gets hit. But this is the new way. And this is kind of the key to this whole webinar, telling you up front, and then we're going to dig deeper into it for the rest of the webinar. So what I'm here today to tell you is that you don't need a blog, a podcast. You don't need years of SEO or social media presence updating every day if you're too busy, and all these other things. What you do need and what works is one webinar that can replace all of these in a simple process like the one I'm about to describe to you. So imagine this. If you could put, in step one, an ad on Facebook that would be targeted to the exact client that you're looking for in your local area, that Facebook ad would send them to a page, a sign-up page, where they'd sign up for a webinar that really hit their pain points. It's something that exactly what their pain is. So in the webinar landing page or the sign-up page, you describe their pain and talk to them about how you can solve that pain. So they sign up. A percentage of those people sign up. Then they attend the webinar and they spend 1 hour with you, and you know what their pain point is. So you describe the pain point, and then you show them how you can solve that pain point around their finances, what that solution is. And at the end of it, you have a call to action. And that call to action is, hey, if you like what I've taught you, then book an appointment with me. Spend an hour with me in my office or on the phone, whichever way you'd like to do it. And let's go deeper and see how we can apply these principles to your life and to your financial plan and future. And from that appointment is where you convert those prospects into a client. So this webinar is about step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Step 5 is where you're in that appointment and you're converting them. And there's a whole range of techniques of doing that, but I'm sure you're pretty good. So I can definitely help you with that. But what today's about is these first 4 steps. Now, isn't that a great way? If every week you could put up some Facebook ads, send them to a webinar page, they attend the webinar that week, and then out of those people, a percentage of them become appointments, and then you sit with them and a percentage of those become a client. That is the new way of marketing. And that is the way that provides certainty, predictability, and something that gives you leads, prospects, and clients every week. It's not a pipe dream in the future based on how hard you work. Does that sound good? If you are still with me and you like what you hear, type into the chat box saying, say right on, say sounds good, let's do it, write in whatever you like so I know you're still there. Okay, so let's get into the thick of this, or the meat of this webinar, which I'm going to show you how this actually works. But you've got to make 3 strategic shifts in your mind to do this. Number 1 is you've got to go from manual prospecting to a scalable traffic source. Traffic source or leads that depend on you to do work are no good. They never last. You need scalable traffic source, something that happens every week without you putting any effort into it. You need to go from one-on-one prospecting to webinar selling. We're going to go through what that means. And finally, you need to go from an unreliable marketing to automated marketing. So your marketing is fully automated and doesn't require you to be following up with clients to get those appointments booked. Okay, so who am I? So before we get into it, my name is Marlon Marisha. In the past, I have been a business coach. I've owned my own business. I'm currently a sales and marketing manager for a specific company, and I deal with lots of different clients. I've spent the last 3 to 4 years just working with Facebook ads to generate leads. I've run hundreds of webinars, and I'm a digital marketing practitioner. I really my whole goal is to help businesses and myself go from creating a lead and converting that lead into a sale. And I think I've always been involved in sales and marketing, never one or the other. It's always been the full cycle. And today is kind of the culmination of all my work over the last 20 years of how I've been able to build for myself and my clients a sales system that gives client leads every week. And so I can go a lot more into my history, but what I will do is go into how what I've learned can help you. And let's start doing that. So if we go back to what it's all about today, it's about a step-by-step process that generates leads on a weekly basis and turns cold prospects into initial meetings. Oh, and if you stay until the end, I'll give you the slides and the recording to everyone who's still on at the very end. Okay, so let's go through the first one. How to go from manual prospecting to a scalable traffic source. So the problem is this, feast and famine, we talked about it. Lots of clients, or one client maybe this week and then nothing for a few weeks, or 2 clients this week and then nothing for a few weeks, or you're trickling in the sales and you can't predict anything. If I was to ask you to make a list of all this marketing activities that you knew you could and should do, it'd probably be a very long list. And in some webinars, I do that and get you to send them through. I won't today because we've got a lot to cover. But really, Anthony Robbins says you're suffering from the case of you're shooting all over yourself. You shoulda, you woulda, you coulda, but you didn't because you're so busy. You're probably exhausted. You're stressed with a huge to-do list in your business. And this is what I want to show you could be the future for you. It's really about building a pipeline of leads into your business. So let me tell you a quick story about the differences of how this can work. Just say you live in a village in Africa, third world country, and you need water every single day. The way they do that is they get a bucket, and they take the bucket and they walk a few kilometers to the river, and they get the water and they walk back and they have water for the day. So the next day when they need water, they have to do the same thing. They pick up their bucket early in the morning, they walk to the river, they fill it up with water, and they walk all the way back. But what happens if they get sick that day? So one day they get sick and they don't go to the river because they can't get to the river. And the next day they're sick, so they get no more water. But the next day they're okay, so they go get their bucket again and they walk to the river, get their water and come back. So that's kind of good, kind of works for most people. But you don't want to live like that if you live in a third world country, but you definitely don't want to live like that if you have a business. What you want to do is build a pipeline. And a pipeline takes a bit of effort to get set up, right? It takes a bit of infrastructure, you've got to set it in. But once you set that pipeline up, you have water on tap, or you could have leads on tap. So when you need the leads, you turn it on. And when you don't need the leads or the water, you turn it off. And that's what you need to create in your business, a pipeline of leads coming in that when you're really busy, you can turn it off if you choose to. But when you need those leads again, you turn it on and you get more work or more leads instantly. It's not something that's going to take you, a very, very long time, weeks or months for it to happen. And that's key. It works so you don't have to work. It's kind of an automated process. So you can keep doing the practice of planning for your clients. Leads and clients every week is really what you want on a consistent basis. So what really is holding you back from lead generation? Maybe it's because you don't know what to do. Maybe it's because you don't know where to start. Maybe it's because you're just too busy. I mean, there's many reasons why. So here's the meat. These are the 3 hot principles that will help you achieve that goal. Now, this is kind of really important part of the webinar, and this is where we talk about Facebook ad targeting. So you know that there are over 14 million Australians on Facebook. And that's about a year old, that stat, so it's probably more now. And do you know that the average person on Facebook in Australia spends anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes per day on the platform? I mean, that's incredible. So basically, if you're a marketer on Facebook, you have a captivated audience of 20 to 40, 14 million people that spend 20 to 40 minutes a day. And there's no other platform like that except TV. TVs are the reach of most people, and it's not effective anymore. So we have this platform, and let me show you how you can target people on this platform if you're a financial planner. So just say your target audience is 50-year-old people who are getting ready for retirement. Like, they realize, next 10 years I'm going to retire. I probably don't have enough money. I need to do something about my finances. So this is how you can target them on Facebook. You can target them by location. So you could say, I want to see all the people in Bondi in Sydney, and anyone who lives in a 10-mile radius. So that'll give you a whole bunch of people, tens of thousands of people. Then you can say, well, they also have to be a man. So I'm looking for males here. So anyone that lives in Sydney, 10-mile radius around Bondi, who's a male. And then you can say anyone who's a male but also earns over 150,000 a year. So Facebook will give you this data. Facebook knows all of this information about its users. It actually has 2,000 data points on every single user. So that is a huge amount of data, and you're using it now to locate your exact perfect target audience. You can also say, okay, they have to live in Bondi, they're a male, they earn over 150,000 a year, and they're a university graduate. And finally, I want them to also be interested in the New York Times, maybe the Rich Dad, Poor Dad Facebook page, and superannuation. So basically, based on their behavior on Facebook, Facebook knows that they read the New York Times, they are interested in the book, they like it or they've read it, and they click on lots of different ads or posts about superannuation. So you can really target down. So Facebook would give you a number of people that fit that description that you've got in front of you, and then you can show your ads just to those people. Very targeted, very cost effective. What if you sell life insurance and you want to target families with young children? A few years ago, I had I think 4 children under the age of 6, and I was the sole income earner. And my wife said to me, Marlon, we need to get our life insurance policies in order, because if something happens to you, we are going to be devastated. And so financially, we'll have a real problem because you bring in all the money. And so she really pushed me, and eventually I said, look, just do it. And but I thought to myself, wow, there's a real need out there for women who have children who are really conscious about this life insurance thing. So here's a screenshot from Facebook on how you can target my wife. So this one here is basically, if you look down where the arrows are, we've targeted people in New York, a 25-mile radius around New York, who are aged between 30 and 45. If you look down, the gender is female, they're married, and they have children between the ages of 0 and 5 years old. So basically we're saying to Facebook here, look, pick any woman who's married with children, ages between 0 and 5, and is aged between 30 and 45 years old, and lives in 25-kilometer radius, a mile radius of New York City. And there's 35,000 women like that in that area. And so those 35,000 people, you can specifically target your ads to. Now that is power like you've probably never seen before. It's unprecedented for marketers to have this kind of power to show their ads to people like this. And so that's what makes this whole process so significant. It's not just the webinars that make it work, it's the ability to focus your message exactly to that person. So the next thing that is really important is measurement. So the ability to measure every single step of the campaign. So if you look here in this image, this is a screenshot from Facebook, and we ran a webinar campaign for a client here. So it was a 12-day campaign. If you look at the red writing at the top, we generated 37 new leads, and the cost per lead was $4.41 per lead. So basically, when I say 37 new leads, that's 37 people signed up for the webinar. So in 12 days, we had 37 people sign up for the webinar, and it cost $4.41 per sign up. That is so cheap. Like, that is incredibly cheap. And this basically says that you can see there's a whole range of ads, and you probably don't understand most of what's on here, but the red is what you want to focus on. So, do you know another strategy? Do you know another marketing activity? Will blogging, will SEO, will, live events, will networking, will cold calling deliver these kind of results in this time? My experience tells me no. It's really revolutionary. Okay, so the other thing that's really important if you want to have scalable traffic is you need to get immediate results, not results that happen in the next 6 to 12 months. So here's another campaign we ran, and you can see how quick it happened. So this was a 2-day campaign. So over 20 hours, this campaign generated 250 signups to a webinar. It was $125 per signup. So again, this one is a highly optimized campaign. It probably took us 3 months to get there. But we would turn this on and off. So we would turn it on when we needed lots of registrations for a webinar. And you can see here, we got 250 people signed up straight away within 20 hours. And then we turn it off again. And then we wouldn't run it for a week. And then we'd turn it on for 20 hours and we'd get all the signups. So this is definitely not something that happens when you start your first campaign, but once it's optimized, you can get to this level. But that's what's great about this, Facebook. It's the ability for you to say, I need some activity in my business. I need to get some leads through. Let's just turn it on. What a great place to be. But ideally, you want these running continuously so they're slowly feeding the leads in to your business. Okay, so have a think to yourself, what was the most valuable for you out of that? Was it the ability to target people on Facebook? Was it the measuring and testing where you can see every single aspect of the campaign? Or was it the immediate results that you can achieve with Facebook ads? So that's the first step in building a repeatable process that delivers prospects on a weekly basis and converts them into initial meetings for financial planners. So the next one is you've got to move from one-to-one prospecting to webinar selling. So here's the problem. Cold calling, no matter how good you are, it makes you sad. Cold calling is tough. It's hard. You can get results, but it's not worth the investment and it makes you feel really bad. I've done so much cold calling in my life and I've had success, but it's never something I look forward to. Networking events, they're great, but they're very time consuming. And a lot of times you've got to do it outside of your work hours. And I'm not saying stop doing it. I'm just saying that it's dependent on you. When you stop, the effect stops. And so these kind of activities, you want to leverage your time, remember. Online marketing tactics, there's so many out there and people are making so many promises with blogging and SEO and social media, but really, are you getting a return immediately with it? Is it a long-term effect? Have you even tried it and you haven't had results? And it's always your fault. It's always, you need to work harder. You need to do this. You haven't quite tweaked the strategy right. Well, you know what? That's not what business needs. Business needs results, not promises. We talked about the old way, the old way that you could do it, and they're just exhausting. They're very hard. And here's the promise. Webinars will help you become an expert in the minds of your prospects. You spend an hour on a webinar with your ideal prospect. At the end of it, if you structure your webinar right, they will see you as an authority. And they'll be looking to work with you. They'll be looking at an opportunity to work with you. This is where prospects want to talk to you, not you wanting to talk to them. And that's what a webinar creates for you. It helps you leverage your time. You can speak to many people at once who are not at the bottom of the sales funnel, not ready to talk to you yet. So instead of doing one-on-one calls with them, you do a big, you do one conversation with many people, and then the ones who are hot, ready to go, you get them to book an appointment. These are 3 hot principles about webinars. This is how you make a webinar successful. You need to have one big thing in the webinar that people understand and you shift their mentality. One big mindset shift. If you just teach and teach and teach lots of good information, which I know you can, but you don't let them make this mindset shift, they won't become someone looking for an appointment with you. So let me give you some examples. You want to write out one big belief that you want them to walk away with. Okay, so these are 3 examples. One must be when they walk away from your webinar, they must be saying to themselves, I must start planning for my retirement and I must start today. And then when you offer the appointment, with them, they're like, that's the next logical step. That's a mindset shift. Like, you haven't just taught them the specifics and the tactics. You've moved their mind from, hey, this sounds good, to, hey, I must start today. And I need to do that with someone. The next one might be, the mindset shift they must go through might be, building an investment portfolio is achievable and easy if I have the right advisors. So of course it's not achievable and easy for someone to do it themselves, but if they have the right advisor. And who is the right advisor? It's you. You've just spent an hour with them. The third mindset shift might be, I must sort out my insurances so I can protect my family from tragedy. You know, I was at the stage where my wife kept saying to me, Marlon, you need to do it, and I did nothing. And then eventually she made me do it. But what if you could get someone on a webinar, at the end of it, they're a bit complacent. By the end, they're like, I have to do this. So it's more than just tactics you're going through. It's also about talking about what is their pain point, you know, what are their dreams, their hopes for the future, what would happen if they do nothing, and then what would happen if they take action today. You know, this is all what you've got to take them through. That's the one big thing. The second thing is a concept called teaching and selling. So if you just teach tactics all the way through your webinar, and at the end you say, hey, book an appointment with me, that's kind of awkward. It's kind of like you'll probably feel awkward, and people will probably think you sound a bit awkward, and they won't sign up. The concept is, you teach a bit, then you sell a bit, then you teach a bit, then you sell a bit. And the whole idea of teaching and selling is that you might teach something about financial planning and what they should do, and then you give an example of a client you worked with, then you teach a bit more, and you give another example. And you're talking about, oh, this client I worked with, and you're getting them used to you talking about how you work with clients. And at the end, when you say, hey, the next step, if this sounds good and this is something that you think you need to focus on, book an appointment with me. They're kind of used to that, you know, they're kind of used to you being the advisor to other people. So it's very important that you teach and sell. You don't just teach in a webinar, and at the end, when you try to sell, nothing happens. You just see an empty silence. Now, thirdly, with webinars, you need to follow the formula. There is a very clear formula to having a successful webinar, and I'm going to show it to you now. If you look at this image here, the top half is what we're going to focus on, and to the left of the top half, you can see intro. So when you start a webinar, you have to have a very big, bold promise at the beginning, and you can see what my promise is. It's, you know, how to generate traffic, generate new prospects and convert them into clients on a weekly basis. That's kind of my bold promise. You need to have a hook till the end. So you need to get them to stay until the end, because if they don't hear the message. So my hook was, you know, stay until the end, and I'll give you a recording of the slides. Number 3 is, you need to command their attention. You really need to get their attention and say, hey, you need to stay. And I had those 4 bold promises up front of what we're going to cover. And hopefully that got your attention. You need to qualify yourself and just say why they should be listening to you. And finally, this is really important, you need to future pace. You need to talk about what the future could look like. You need to talk about what it may look like in a good situation, or may look like in a bad situation. So they're constantly looking forward. And this is great for financial planners, because you guys are all about the future. You guys are all about saying, hey, what could life be like? You know, so many other businesses don't have that opportunity, but your whole business is about future pacing. And then next, if you move over to the right at the top of this image, it talks about the content. It talks about the one big thing that we talked about, that mindset shift you need to take them through. And the way you build that mindset shift is you cover 3 secrets, or it's not really secrets, but it's for you, other businesses it might be, but it's really tactics. It's really 4 ways they can achieve their goal. And that's where you teach and you sell, and you teach and you sell all the way through. So that's kind of a very quick overview of how a perfect webinar should be structured. The bottom half is a bit more complex. We're not going to go through it now. It's about how you do that call to action. But I think you've got a bit of value there where you can start creating an outline for a webinar at the end of this webinar. Finally, with webinars, you need to have a rock solid call to action. It's called a CTA, or a call to action. Okay, Robert has just asked that he likes the content, he agrees with it. Are we going to cover the practicalities and logistics of running a webinar? Well, Robert, at the very end, I'm going to have a Q&A, and we can go through any part of that process you like, and I will go through it anyway now that you've asked the question. And so yes, we will. And I'll stay on for as long as I need to make sure that you get everything you need out of what you're looking for with running a webinar. Okay, so this solid call to action is really where you at the end say or ask for people to book appointments, and it needs to be solid. You need to have a goal for the webinar, and if you teach and sell all the way through, it's not an uncomfortable goal that you have that they are not caring about, the people on the webinar. And so it's really important that this structure around a webinar, there's a purpose, and you build the webinar based on the purpose at the end. So you need to be working towards them saying, hey, what's the next step? What's the next step? How do I do this? And then the next step is that 1 hour meeting with you or whatever it is. Okay, so that is the shift from one-on-one prospecting to webinar selling. Now, the last one is you need to go from unreliable marketing to automated marketing. And so the problem with automated marketing, and again, this is all in relation to this webinar. We've done the Facebook, how you generate the leads. We've talked about the webinar where you get them and build authority. Now we're talking about the back end. What happens after the webinar? Well, you're too busy. We know that. Everyone's too busy. And after the webinar, you probably may not follow up, or you may follow up, but it's a real problem. It does stop people. You're not consistent with your marketing. You know, you might try one thing for a few weeks, and then you don't try it, and then you jump to something else, and then a new idea comes. I find the key to prospecting and generating leads on a consistent basis and turning them into sales is consistency. You do a few things and you do them very well, as opposed to lots of things and not doing them well at all. And you probably have a low conversion rate. You know, you do activities, but you don't get the conversions you're happy with. And really, the whole goal is about getting your conversion rate. It might be at 2%, 3%, 4%, but then you build it and you're trying to get it to 10% or 15%. And so you need to focus on that. This is the promise. The promise is that you should be able to take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way, and you don't drop an opportunity. The promise is you only work with the hot prospects and not the ones that aren't ready for you now, but your automated marketing is nurturing those people while you're doing your work and doing other things. You're not nurturing them. You have a system that nurtures them and gets them ready to be a prospect. And finally, you're filled with sales opportunities. You have lots of sales opportunities that come through on a weekly basis. And that's those appointments that I've been talking about. Okay, so these are the 3 hot principles to automated follow-up. I don't know if you guys have heard about marketing automation, and some of you may have or may not have heard of it, and it's a buzzword at the moment, but it's very powerful if you do it right. So marketing automation is kind of like what you see here. If you look here, this is a series of emails that for one of my clients, they send to their people who sign up, or the people who register for their webinar. So basically, if you look at the very top, I know it's a little hard to read, but if you look at the very top, it says immediately in blue, they get an email that says, hey, you've signed up. Then 27 hours before, 123, 75 hours before the webinar, they get a whole series of emails that educate them, get them excited about the webinar. Then 15 minutes before they get there, hey, we're about to start, jump on the webinar. And then after the webinar, there's a whole series of emails that they get that go through and talk. And if they haven't signed up for the strategy session or the 1 hour appointment, then it kind of tries to get them into that, but not in a heavy sales-handed way. All of these emails are all education focused. So they're all very much about how to educate your client. And at the very end, you say, hey, if you're ready, sign up. So it's not about, hey, sign up. It's about, let me educate you. Let me build authority. Let me build trust. And then at the very end of the email, there's a quick call to action. And so as a financial planner, you may have more or less of these emails, and it's all about what you're comfortable doing, but there is a formula that you can use, and it has been tried and tested, and it does work. And when you modify that to how comfortable you are with it, it is very, very powerful, because this will happen with every person that signs up for your webinar without you having to do a thing. So it doesn't matter how busy you are, it's working for you. So that's really important part of this clients on demand system. Okay, so the next step is calling your online leads. Like, I know I'm talking about automated marketing, but making sales without your effort is a pipe dream. It's selling people, it's snake oil. You have to get involved in the process. And this is what I find. over the years, so many online marketing people, are so much into automation that they forget the good old tried and tested ways of actually making a sale, because they're so interested in collecting email addresses and getting likes and comments and shares. They forget about sales and money, earning money in the business. And I find that if you can, at some point in your follow-up, you call the client, it's very powerful. So this week I've been with a client, and they had Facebook ads to a webinar to a live event. It's a different kind of business, and they had 260 people attend their live events across Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. And so this week they're on the phones calling every single one of those people up, and the response is amazing. The event was awesome. People are raving about the event, and they're opening up and talking about what they need, and they're asking very good questions, and it's creating opportunities. Lots of sales are now happening. It's a consulting business, and these sales are big. These sales are like $10, $50, $100,000. So that journey along that sales pipeline is starting for a lot of these people, but it's about calling. And so for you, you've got to know when to call the client. And typically after a webinar, you want to have all your appointments come through, and you want to deal with those appointments. And then at some point with people who do certain actions, you want to pick up the phone and just make contact with them. Okay, and the last one, before we're about to wrap up now, because we've been going for about 40 minutes, is focus. Now this, if you walk away with nothing else, this would be the top 3 that you want to walk away with. The Facebook ads is huge, the webinars, and focus. Focus is so important in lead generation. So many people are jumping from opportunity to opportunity because there's so many things you can do. And you know what? Any one of those things, most of the time, will work if you apply focus to it. But if you keep chopping and changing, none of it will work for you. So let me tell you about a principle called the 5 1s. And this is something that my friend Taki Moore showed me a few years ago, and it kind of has revolutionized a lot of my clients' businesses. So the 5 1s go like this. What you need to do is choose one target market. You need to have one product to offer to that target market. You need to have one conversion tool that converts those clients, prospects into clients. You need to choose one traffic source that draws in those prospects to your conversion tool, so the conversion tool can convert them into clients. And you need to do all of this for 1 year. So this is all about focus. So basically you need to focus on one perfect client for a year. You need to have one offer for them that you know is going to help them achieve their goals. You need to have one traffic source like Facebook, where you know that if you turn that on, the prospects come through because you really understand their pain point. You're communicating that. There's a man called Wyatt Wordsmith, and he said that if you can describe your client's pain better than they can, they automatically and unconsciously credit you with having the solution. That's amazing. If you can describe your client's pain better than they can describe it, they automatically and unconsciously credit you with having the solution. And that's what this strategy is about. You get so close to your target market that you know exactly what their pain points are. You can describe them. You can draw them in through Facebook. When you get them on the webinar, you know you hit every point that they have pain point. And at the end, by the end, they're saying, this financial planner, I think he has the solution for me, and moves into the initial meeting. Now, you've got to do it all for a year though. You've got to be consistent and focused, because I know that over the course of the year, you'll optimize your Facebook campaigns, you'll optimize your webinar. Like the first one will be awful, second one will be better, but by the 5th or 6th webinar, you are nailing it. You know exactly, because you do Q&As at the end and you ask questions and you roll all the answers to those questions back into your webinar and you optimize it. Your Facebook ads are optimized, your landing pages are optimized, and that's how come with that one campaign I showed you, we had 250 leads in 20 hours because it was all optimized. We spent a few months optimizing those ads, and by the time we got to that stage, the first time we ran it, we were lucky to get 10 people. But after optimizing, we got 250 in 20 hours. So focus, the 5 1s. I love it because I've seen it change businesses drastically. Okay, so here are the 3 shifts again. We'll go through the 3 shifts, but really what I've told you now is how to win clients on a predictable basis. So here are the 3 shifts. You've got to go from manual prospecting to scalable traffic source. You've got to go from one-on-one prospecting to webinar selling. You've got to go from unreliable marketing to automated marketing. And the new way is this way: Facebook ad to sign-up page to webinar, and then to appointment, and then to new client. Have that process, use the 5 ones, do it again. So every week, you're doing 1 webinar a week. So it's taking you 1 hour per week to present your webinar. So you turn your Facebook ads on, you fill your webinar, you present for an hour, and then you have appointments that come out of it, and you sit in those appointments to convert your clients. And if you can do that for a year and optimize every stage of it, you will have a predictable sales system that will grow your business in 2017. Okay, so today I promised to talk about how to generate clients on demand, and I think we've done that. Facebook ads. Talked to you about how to leverage your time, so you can talk to many prospects at once, and I think I've done that. We talked about webinars and how powerful they are. Talked about how to stop manual prospecting, and again, it's the combination of Facebook ads, but also understanding your client, and how to stop doing busy work. Lots of things that don't get results. So if you can really focus your energy and time and resources in your company on a system like this, then you'll have so much more time to do more meaningful things in your business that you do need to do. So you have 2 options now. Before we get to the Q&A, I want to quickly run over your 2 options. You can do it yourself. And I've given you, look, I've only spent an hour with you, and I know there's a lot more that you probably want to know, and we'll get through as much of that in the Q&A. But you can do it yourself. But I've been doing this process for about 3 years now, and before that, Facebook ads. And it's been a lot of ups and downs, and successes and failures, and wasted opportunities, and dollars on Facebook, and lots of webinars that didn't work, and technical problems. And but at the end of the day, I'm here. I'm where I am now, and you could be here too. But it will take time, and it takes a bit of learning. Let's do it yourself. The other one is you can have it done for you. You get a consultant and they just do the whole thing for you. And I don't like that approach. What I like is the done with you approach. And this is where we work with you. The webinar, you have to present that webinar, but I can teach you how to present well, how to structure it well. We can do all the Facebook ads for you and help you optimize it so you don't have to do it. But we need to understand your client to create good ads that actually generate signups to the webinar. And that is not something we can do by ourselves. We need to do that with you. This whole process, 80% of it is understanding the client and their pains and what their dreams and aspirations are. And the other 20% is the technical stuff, the Facebook stuff. But if we don't get that 80% right, the 20% is irrelevant. And so that's why it's really a partnership done with you. So we obviously take the bulk of the work if we do it this way, but we need you a part of the process. So I want to offer you a strategy session. I've been talking about this all day, but I want to offer you 30 minutes with me. It's actually 45 minutes with me. And what I want to do in that meeting is to help you get further on the path. So I know a lot of you have some more questions about it. I'll answer all those questions in that 30-minute meeting. But I also want to map the process to your business, and so you can see how it might fit within the intricacies of your business. I want you to discover how you can reduce your sales activity but increase your income. Isn't that an awesome concept? That if you could do less but earn more. And I know, again, that sounds like snake oil, but I've shown you the process. The problem isn't because this is a magic solution. It's not magic. It's there for everyone to do. People just aren't doing it. And people aren't being focused on it, and people aren't making it a priority, and people are jumping from one activity to the next, and they're not focusing on a solution that they can get really good at. And I know there's lots of other solutions out there that could deliver good results, but this is the best one that I've come across that is rock solid for financial planners. And then I want to talk to you about how we can help if you're interested. But you will leave that meeting confident, excited, and re-inspired to take your business to the next level, and you'll know a lot more about the process, whether you work with us or whether you don't. So I want to encourage you to book in that meeting with me now. I just want to, there's going to be a button that's coming up, and I'm just trying to get this button. That's the URL you can type in to book in that meeting. Yeah. So there should be a button that's jumping up right now onto your screen that says strategy session, book now. Click that button and it'll take you to this URL, and you can book in that time with me. It'd be great to spend that time with you, helping you find something that will grow your business. So let's get to the Q&A. So I've got a few questions here that a lot of people have asked me in the past, and I'll answer these, but I want you now to type into the chat box your questions that I can answer, and hopefully we can have a kind of conversation here. So I'll start answering some questions, throw your questions in the chat box, and I'll be on for as long as I need to be to answer every question that you have about this process. So I know Robert has one. So from before, Robert said, I agree with all this and it makes perfect sense. Are we going to cover the practicalities and logistics of running a webinar? So Robert, if you can type in the chat box exactly what you want to know around the practicalities and logistics of running a webinar. And then I will answer a couple of these questions. So I don't want to just answer that. I think I know how to answer the question, but I just want a bit of clarification from you. So how much time per week do I need? So if you have, Sales Engine, myself, do this with you, then we will do the bulk of the work. And really what we need from you is at the beginning, there's lots of meetings that we have with you to understand your client. And then really once that's all done, we have weekly meetings with you to update you. But you're kind of turning up for this webinar once a week, and you're presenting that webinar, and then you've got the sessions that we book in, the strategy sessions, so you'll call them something else, that you book in and you understand. But really it's not a lot of time for you personally. If you get someone like us. If you do it yourself, then obviously there's lots of time, there's lots and lots of investment you need to make. What other tools do I need? So really, if you look at what I'm using an app called Webinar Jam to hold the webinars, and it's a really good solution. It's not the perfect solution. There's another really good one called GoToWebinar, which is really good, and I've used both extensively, and they got their pros and cons, but Webinar Jam is a lot cheaper than GoToWebinar. GoToWebinar is really expensive, and GoToWebinar, they have to download an app onto their computer or iPhone to get it to work. So yeah, look, if you go with either of those, you would be in a good situation. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. So either of those, GoToWebinar or Webinar Jam is the technology you need. You need a landing page, so where someone goes from Facebook onto a page which describes, and you guys have been through this process with me, you've seen the landing page and you've signed up. So you kind of need that page, is really important. And obviously you need the Facebook ads, and there's no expense for all of that except the money you spend on it. There's an email marketing software you need to do a lot of your follow-up campaigns. That's called ActiveCampaign. That is the best one on the market. It's very affordable. So there's Infusionsoft, which costs a minimum of $300 a month. ActiveCampaign with the functionality that's the same as Infusionsoft for what you need. So Infusionsoft has a lot more functionality, but what you need, it's the same. It starts at $9 a month. So get onto ActiveCampaign. It's the best. So Robert says, I've presented at many seminars, but not run a webinar. I don't know how to set one up from an IT perspective. So there's a couple of things there, Robert. We can definitely help you with that. And if you book a strategy session, I can talk to you about that, even if you just want to have a chat about that in that session. You attended the webinar, and I'm happy to invest into you. But look, there is a bit of a learning curve if someone doesn't show you, but you can do it yourself. And it depends on how IT savvy you are and how much you enjoy the process. If you enjoy the process, you'll spend the time. The only caveat I'll tell you is that it sucks up a lot of time when you're learning this stuff, and it takes you away from what you do as a financial planner. So that's why I always recommend getting someone who knows what to do it. But on the other hand, if you are someone that dedicates time to these kind of activities, there's no better thing you can do than to learn how to use these platforms, because you will leverage your time later. So you'll invest up front. Remember I said when you build a pipeline, there's investment up front, but then later you just turn the tap on and off. So you might have a period of time of investment to learn these platforms, but then once you've got it, it's that hour a week that you can, get working. So whether if you get someone like us to do it, you invest finances into it. If you do it yourself, you invest time. You just got to make a decision which is the best one. But I can tell you it's totally achievable if you do it yourself. Webinar Jam, I would say, go for that, use it. If you can, to be honest, if you've got the cash, the extra cash to spend on a monthly basis, I would say go to Webinar if you're doing it yourself, because it is that much easier. So I'd probably recommend you that way, but it's a bit more expensive. I think it's like $130 a month. And it just depends where your business is at. But I think Webinar Jam is, $400 or $500 for a year. So you can see how that is different. Okay, Robert also says, would a audio-only webinar be as effective as one that includes video of the presenter, like a web version of a live seminar? Very good question, Robert, very good question. I've done it all, and I've got to tell you, there's no difference. No difference at all. All of the best webinar people in the world don't use video. The ones that, put it this way, the ones who make the most money out of webinars don't use video. And the reason for it is if you structure your webinar correctly, you don't need a video of you on the webinar. Secondly, when you do have yourself, you're typically in an office, the lighting isn't great, it looks a little unprofessional, it just doesn't look great. Like I'm wearing a headset right now, and it doesn't look great. But if you have engaging slides, that's why if you look at my slides, they're totally engaging. I've got beautiful pictures and I can keep someone's attention just with the slides. Another trick you can use to keep their attention is to ask questions and get them to type the answers in. And I do that a lot of the time. I didn't do it today. There's a reason why I didn't, but normally I will do it all the time. So if you have a really good slide deck with engaging slides, not a lot of text totally bores people. Do not use video. I don't use video at all. And I do this across many industries, do lots of webinars, and it's too hard. So many things can go wrong with the internet, and it doesn't look great. I've seen really some of the top guys in the world do it with video, and I kind of lose a bit of respect for them when I see their office and stuff like that. So yeah, and you don't need it. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, what ad budget do you recommend to start with? I would say that as a financial planner, start with $10 a day, $70 a week. And what we want to do with that is get you to a stage where you know that if you can put $70 in and get 10 or 15 signups, then, and we can do that week after week, then you can say, hey, I get 10 signups for $70. I want 30 this week, so let's put 210 in. So you want to be at the stage where you can scale the business. Remember I said it's scalable lead generation, so you can scale it up and scale it down, but you always start small. And then if you can, put in $70 and get one appointment, so it's $70 per appointment, then you can say, well, I'll put 140 in and get 2 appointments. And with Facebook, it's totally like that. Where every single cent goes, why people are clicking, what you can do to change. You can, they even recommend how to optimize the campaigns. So that's where you want to be. So you always start small, and then you scale up as you get the results. You don't scale up if you're not getting sales. You scale up when you start getting the sales come in. Okay, so what services do you offer? So very quickly, I get lots of people ask me this. And so the services is basically we do it's kind of a done for you is a done with you. And so we basically help you set up your ads, understand the client, set up the ads, set up the campaigns. We help you write the webinar. We teach you how to present it. We watch you present it. We help you optimize it. And we do all the email follow-up sequences with the information that we gather from you. And then we optimize it. We optimize it every week. And we have, our whole goal is to get you appointments. And then once that process works, you can either take that over yourself or we can always do more with it. We can always get different targets, different segments, different ads. We have to target different people. But I would suggest always, the first 3 to 6 months, it's the same webinar you do. And then if when that gets done, like everyone in your audience in your area has seen it, you come up with a second one and you just apply the same process to it. So, and this is one strategy I'm talking to you about. There's obviously other things you can do to supplement this. All right. Do I need to know how to run Facebook ads? Well, if you get us to do it, obviously not, and you'll learn a lot about it. If you don't know Facebook ads, yeah, you need to learn, and there's a learning curve to it. Look, anyone can get on Facebook and start running ads. They make it so easy. Facebook is an awesome company that really does help small business owners get on their platform. And they're really genuinely interested in you being successful, because they know if you're successful, you will give them more money. The problem is, there's a science behind it. And so it's not just about setting up an ad. And so Facebook, as much as they can help you, they don't help you with the science behind it or the psychology behind it. And so what most, small business owners do is they get a result, and then they don't know what to do once that result starts declining, or they don't get a result. And so it just depends on how much effort you want to put into that. But yeah, you need to run it if you're gonna. You need to learn it if you're gonna do it yourself. We talked about the ad budget. I recommend $10 a day. Oh, that's why I'm going the wrong way. You need an email list of following already to do this. No, the great thing about this is it's totally cold. You start from cold. Actually, I will tell you a couple of things. If you do have an email list, so you don't need an email list because you're just going to people on Facebook. What's great about this is if you do have an email list of past clients, existing clients, or prospects you've never worked with, or clients that you work with but you haven't engaged them, so you're not doing much with them, you can get that email list imported into Facebook. So you normally import their phone number, their name, their email address, their address, full address. If you put that into Facebook, Facebook matches up that data with people in their database. And typically, if you do it, you'll get about a 60% match of people in your list that Facebook says, hey, I know this person. Then you can show ads just to those people. So you might have a list of, say, 1,000 clients. Facebook might find 600 of those clients on the platform. So then you can say to Facebook, hey, just to these people that already know me, show this webinar, or show this ad, or show this offer. And that is where your cost per click or cost per conversion really comes down, and your branding goes up and your results go up. It's called custom audiences, and it's very, very powerful. I'll give you one other tip. There's something called retargeting on Facebook as well. So if someone ever clicks on one of your ads and they do nothing, so they click on it, they go to the page and say, no, not interested. Facebook then remembers them and ties that to your account. So you can then retarget that person with a different ad. And it's called a Facebook funnel that you can create. So basically, you show them an ad, just say for a blog post you might promote. They click on it, and then a week later you can show them an ad for your webinar. And you know that that person's kind of interested because they've already clicked on a piece of content. So you know that they're not just a stranger that doesn't care about your business. They kind of care about the topic. Then you show them another ad. If they don't click on that, you can show them a week later a different ad until you get the right combination of offer or ad or pain point where they go, oh, now I'm ready. That makes sense to me. It also builds branding. So they start seeing your ads everywhere. They get familiar. And a lot of times people will see the ad 3 or 4 times before they actually click. Facebook just keeps showing it to them. It has algorithms that measures all of this and doesn't overdo it. Facebook's very good. So there are a couple of strategies that I've just given you, which makes Facebook even more powerful than what I told you before. You can use automated webinars. You can. I just think for financial planners like you, who are, for some businesses who work internationally in different time zones, you can use automated webinars, and they're good. They're not as good as live, but they're still good. But if you're working in a local area, like around your suburb, I would always say do live, because you can answer questions like I have today, and it's a lot more customer focused. People really get to know you a bit more when you can interact and respond with them. And the other thing is you can ask questions to the audience and you can learn. So these questions I've got here are what I've learned from previous webinars. That's really important to understand your client more, what their desires and pain points are. So I would say yes, you can use it, and we use it in some of our clients when they're having international audiences, so the time zones don't match up. But if you're a small business owner, live is the best way to go. It's only an hour a week. If you work with me, do you get to work with me personally? Yes. So everything is me. I have some people that work with me, but I do all the customer-facing stuff and the strategy and all of that. Obviously, when you do this, you need copywriters. You need, technical people. We have technical people that do the technical stuff, but all the strategy, important stuff, client, and when I'm working with you, it's me, because I find that it's my experience that you need, and then I have people that are very, very good at different parts of the process. Okay, and I think, do I need a website or Facebook page set up first? Great thing is you don't even need a website, because everything I've just shown you doesn't include a website, but I suspect you do have one. Do I need a Facebook page set up first? Yes, you do have to have a Facebook page to run ads, but you don't have to have anyone following you to run ads. All right, so that is it. I think I've answered all the questions that people have asked. Let me just have a look here. No other questions, so just type any questions in if you still have them. But look, I want to encourage you that if you have enjoyed today and you really think that there is potential for your business, then click on that link and you'll go to this page here. It has my calendar on there. You can pick a time and book an appointment with me, and I'll call you and we can spend 45 minutes on the phone and see if this process could work with you, and you can ask me a whole heap of other questions. So it looks like there's no other questions. Actually, there is one more. In your experience of our industry, what do you think is the best time of day to run a webinar, during business hours or after 5? That is a really good question again. So it's always about testing. You always want to test what your audience wants, but I can give you some tips. Doing it during a lunch break is always good, like around 12 or 1 o'clock, because people will just jump on and have their lunch if they're at work. Obviously, if financial planning, it's a personal, this is something personal. I have lots of clients that do sell their B2B, so they can watch it during work. But obviously then after hours is another good one. So I would always try lunchtime and then after hours. And after hours does get a lot as well. But you should never, one thing with Facebook and this kind of marketing, you never go off what people tell you. You use it as a guide, but you always test. And that's what's awesome, because you can test this. So you can say, okay, what's better, 9 o'clock in the morning? So I would say run one at lunch. The next week, run it at after hours, and then you compare. You can compare how much it costs per click, it costs to sign up someone, and how many people turned up. The webinar software, Webinar Jam and GoToWebinar, tells you exactly how many people signed up, how many attended, how many left before the end, how much of it they watched, and you can just, after a few weeks, you realize, wait a minute, I'm getting, I'm getting equal amounts of people signing up, but at night, I'm getting a 50% turn-up rate, and in lunchtime, I'm getting a 20% turn-up rate. So then you obviously make adjustments according to that. Okay, yep. All right, awesome. So if there's no other questions, look, thanks for coming along, staying till the end, and I hope that you have learned some really key tools that, whether you yourself or we help you with them, can really revolutionize your business in 2017. I am so excited about this process. I've applied it in many different industries, and I've got to say, in the last 20 years of sales and marketing, I'm more excited about opportunities for small business to compete with the big boys and to generate real clients at very low, cost, and to actually get clients in a predictable way. So I'm really excited. I'm sure you can tell. I love sharing it with everyone. And if you have any questions, you can email me. You're going to get an email from me after this. Obviously, a follow-up email, a series of emails. But reply to them. Love to interact with you. Book that strategy session, and let's hopefully get your business growing in 2017. All right. Thank you very much, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.